Hello, my name is Sarah Jefford and I am a family creation lawyer in Australia, practicing in surrogacy and donor conception. Today I'm going to talk to you about the surrogacy process in Australia. So if you qualify for surrogacy, that is, if the intended parents have a medical or a social reason to be doing surrogacy, and you have a surrogate that's ready to go, that is, that she's had a medical approval to do surrogacy, to have another pregnancy, then the next step is that everybody in that team undergoes surrogacy counselling with a fertility counsellor, usually registered with ANZICA, which is the Fertility Society of Australia and New Zealand. That counselling involves sessions as a team, but also in the couples. So the intended parents together with the counsellor, and the surrogate and her partner, if she has one, with the counsellor, and then all four of you together. While you're doing the counselling, you can also start engaging with lawyers. We like the counselling and the legal advice to kind of happen alongside or shortly one after the other. And we need both the counselling and the legal advice to be finished around the same time. So while you're doing your counselling, you can book in with lawyers. We have two lawyers, one for the intended parents and one for the surrogate and their partner. And what happens is that we usually have a written agreement. There's two lawyers, but one written agreement. And the two lawyers will sit down with their respective clients and provide legal advice and have that agreement drafted and then reviewed by both lawyers within that legal advice. And when it's finalised and when the counselling is completed, everybody will sign that legal agreement and a copy will be given to the clinic. There is then an approval process, and this differs state to state. Within most states, that approval process is really just the clinic checking that you've done the legal advice and you've done the counselling and you may have done some blood tests and other things that they need you to do. But in Western Australia and in Victoria, there is an external approval process. In WA, that's called the Reproductive Technology Council, and in Victoria, it's the Patient Review Panel. And those two processes basically mean that the approval happens from outside of the clinic. And once that's done, you will be given an approval from the clinic or from the external process. And that can then be used to go ahead with an embryo transfer, whereby your surrogate attends your clinic for an embryo transfer of one of your embryos. And hopefully at that point, she falls pregnant, fingers crossed. And then you go on there with her being pregnant, just as any other pregnant person in that process. So that's the initial preconception surrogacy process in Australia. The post-birth process is separate, and I'll talk about that in a different video. If you would like more information about any of this process, you can actually find some resources on my website at sarahjefford.com. That includes process documents for before surrogacy, but there's also some resources for hospital management of a surrogacy birth, some birth resources, and some planning resources for what happens after the birth with regards to registration of the birth and Medicare and Centrelink. If you have any questions, you are most welcome to get in touch. My email is sarah@sarahjefford.com.